Welcome to Maine Better. I'm Orion Breen, and with us today is Congressman Jared Golden, who represents the 2nd District of Maine. How you doing today?
Doing good. How you doing?
I'm doing great.
All
Let's
right.
get into the tough questions right away. What do you think is the worst road in your district?
It's an impossible question because there's so many. I got so many different counties, and everyone's got a road that they're hoping I'll call out because they want it fixed. In 2019, I think I went to well over 150 different towns all over the district, hit up every county, and I've traveled a lot of really bad roads. I'll just say in general, I think Washington County has perhaps got the greatest number of real bad beaten up roads of the type that will force you to need to get some work done in the auto body shop.
What can you do in Washington, D.C. to help the folks in Washington County with their roads?
Sadly, it makes me sick to my stomach that in Washington, Hill staffers and politicians that have been there way too long and are a little jaded joke about infrastructure week, which is a focus on infrastructure where nothing ever actually comes of it, nothing gets done, and it's been so many years since Congress really tackled this infrastructure funding gap that we have and really made that big investment that we hear Congress and presidents year after year promise we're finally going to pay attention to and get American infrastructure back to being the best in the world, which it no longer is. But people seem to make light out of it and joke almost like, oh yeah, it's infrastructure week. Well, it needs to be a top priority. It is clearly important to each one of us as individuals, but to every one of our businesses, whether it's because people are traveling to work on them, your product is moving, or the kind of postal, service delivery to get stuff that you need to make your business continue to click. It's huge for the economy, and it also creates jobs. I mean, investing in infrastructure, putting people, businesses, contractors, the building trades to work is just a great way to stimulate the economy, and we all know it.
Do you
So,
think Joe
obviously,
Biden is somebody who can help get some action out of Congress and in actually getting one of these big infrastructure bills passed?
no, yeah, on this, people got to stop looking to one person to fix everything. Which president has delivered in a big way on the serious investment we need to make in our infrastructure going back many years now? They've all said it. None of them have been able to get it done. No, we can't put that on President Trump alone. We can't put that on a future president to get the job done. It's got to be, I think, about accountability across government, demanding that Congress step up and address this issue. No one questions whether or not it's important to the future of the country to continuing to be one of the most competitive or the number one country in the world. We used to pride ourselves on our infrastructure. Now we're fearing that we're falling behind other countries. We can't allow that to happen.
What was your first car?
First car I ever personally bought for myself when I was in the Marines. I got a Toyota Tacoma back when it was like a 2002 Toyota Tacoma, 2-door, smaller rig. I was in the Marines, so I wanted something to throw my gear in the toolbox I had in the back, stuff that I needed for the field, and that one stayed with me for a while.
You're more of a truck guy than a car guy.
Hands down, truck guy every day of the week and twice on Sunday. I think in any household in Maine, someone's got to have a 4-wheel drive option. You just got to have it, right? I mean, my wife drives a Toyota Prius. That is not the vehicle of choice in the middle of winter as far as I'm concerned. But
Do you have a dream car or dream truck?
I have a 17-year-old GMC Sierra that is just barely holding on. It's left me stranded on the side of the road a few times, but I want to get every mile out of it, and I love the thing, but the rust is getting to be a bit of a problem. So time for an upgrade. Obviously, wouldn't I love to have like a brand new GMC Sierra, pickup truck? I think it's time for a 4-door for me. If I could justify it, I'd love to have the 2500 or something like that. My wife wonders why I need that much truck unless we have like something to pull behind it, but.
What's the best road trip you've ever been on?
I used to drive from Camp Lejeune when I was in the Marines all the way to Maine in one go, and it could take anywhere, I'd say, from 13 to 16 hours. So that's a long haul. It's a long trip, but I was always excited to get home to Maine as quickly as possible. This is when I was active duty, and I might, get a couple of weeks of leave prior to or post deployment. And it's a pretty long haul there, and I used to do it with a guy that I served with from Jersey and another from Connecticut, and drop them off along the way, and then that last stretch from Connecticut to Maine was always a long one. But that's the longest road trip I've done in my life. Just for a quick day trip, if it was like a Sunday drive type of thing. Western Maine mountains are beautiful, particularly in the fall when the leaves are turning, but any time of year, really. I love going for a drive up in that neck of the woods. I was cruising through the Androscoggin River Valley just yesterday out in that area, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful area.
So what issues do you care most about?
To be honest, leadership in government and making sure that people right now are feeling that they have a seat at the table, that their voice is being heard, they're being well represented and well respected by me as their representative. I really think that we need big change in Washington. And when I say that, I almost mean getting back to our roots of government that is really focused on people and on small businesses and not so much on bigger kind of corporate powers and special interests. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I don't like business as usual in Washington right now. And I think with this current freshman class of Congress, there's over 60 new Democrats in this freshman class, but there's also more than 20 new Republican members. And so as a freshman class, it's huge. It's the biggest influx of kind of, I think, young, reform-minded Democrats and Republicans since Watergate. And a lot of us do share in common a desire to maybe push power down away from party leaders of both parties and give it back to the chairs and the committee process, trying to think outside the box and be creative, look to reestablish America as a leader in the 21st century. And I think we can do that by getting back to our roots from a government and leadership perspective.
So who inspires you?
A lot of people. Jim Mattis, huge, just inspirational leader to me when I was in the Marines and today. Peggy Rotundo here in Lewiston is someone I've always looked up to and really admired. Back in the day, one of the first people I wanted to run for president, it would have been for my first presidential election that I could vote in. I wanted General Powell to run. It was funny, people told me, "What, Jared, you're 18 and you're just registered as a Democrat, and that individual that you want to run for president's a Republican." It's like, well, I admired him, and I still do. I read his book about leadership. One of my favorite things he says is never affix your ego to your position in life, because that position will inevitably fail, and you don't want your ego to collapse along with it. Aren't there a lot of people in life that ought to be, taking advice like that from someone like General Powell? And I remind myself of that every day. It is a blessing to represent people of the 2nd District in Congress. I've joined a group of about 11,000 Americans in the history of our country to represent their community in Congress. It's all about service for the people that I represent, the people of Maine, and for the country for me. And I count it as a real blessing and just it's an honor.
Why do you live in Maine? What makes Maine special to you?
Oh, it's I feel like it's just in my bones and in my heart. I left when I joined the Marines and went to Afghanistan and Iraq and lived in North Carolina. When I got out, I had no doubt I was going home to Maine. I don't know why. It just was. I love the place. My family's here. My family still runs their business in Leeds, Maine. I went back and worked in the Middle East for a while. I worked in Washington for Senator Collins it seems like no matter, what I've done in life, I've always very quickly wanted to get back to Maine. I think probably a lot of people that have gone and worked elsewhere in their life and come back to Maine know exactly what I mean. It just pulls you back. Life is, at a different pace here, and I mean that in the best way possible. We're still very connected to the outdoors. Just good people here in this state. Not that there aren't in every state, but there's something special about Maine.
Are there any other stories you'd like to share?
No, I mean, I appreciate the work of Maine Better Transportation Association. I served on the transportation committee in my first 2 years in the Maine legislature, and we have a problem with our infrastructure. The engineers know that, DOT know that, and I think every one of us driving around the state or businesses operating know it. We are underfunded. When I was there, I'm sure it's gotten worse, underfunded by around $70 million or more per year. And we can't bond our way out of this problem forever. It's, I used to say, like swiping a credit card to pay for skinny pavement, which is just the most basic of maintenance. With the interest building and building and building and building, we got to get on top of it and get serious about either reforming how we pay for our infrastructure. Rand Paul used to have the proposal there that we should close offshore tax loopholes and swoop all that money back in and throw it all into infrastructure. That'd be a good one-time solution, but it doesn't solve the problem in the long run.
Thank you so much for coming on Maine Better and sharing your perspective on transportation in Maine and beyond.
Keep up the good fight.